Why in the world are we starting off on Last Fantasy? And why in the world do we have CEST spinning around on the main Nexus? I've got many questions. Now, what I've got for you today is a best of 3 series of top level Protoss versus Terran. Right over here, representing a Protoss legend. Well, at least on the main Nexus. We have another Protoss legend, though. Arguably somebody who's more successful than CEST ever was. We're looking inside of the main base of Hero. His opponent, down in the bottom left, playing with the red Terran SCVs, an absolute monster in the Terran versus Protoss matchup. We're looking inside of the main of Cure. Cure takes on Hero in a best of 3 series. Now, this is by far the least played map in the current map pool. And the reason for it is quite simple. It's bad. Everybody hates it. That's basically the reason why the map is very infrequently played in tournaments, especially when it comes to like best of 3 series, right? So if you're playing a best of 9, you only get to decide the order in which the maps are getting played. But in a best of 3, both players get to delete quite a few maps until only 3 of them are left over. So I'm guessing they probably played a round of veto chicken against one another. So usually you take turns vetoing maps. And I'm guessing they just sort of assumed that the opponent was gonna veto it at some point in the future, or maybe they have some weird strategy in mind. This happens all the time, right? Because you don't want to be vetoing Last Fantasy first, even if you hate it more than any other map, because the odds of your opponent also vetoing it are like probably 90+%. So you get into this really weird spot. Look at this. Is this really faster? Is this the fastest way to go across? Okay, I've got many questions here. Do you think it's quicker to go through all of the circles than it is to just straight up go up north? I guess you can just do a little bit of analysis and figure it out. It doesn't take a whole lot of testing. Very curious. Very interesting game so far. Either way, Cure is going to be able to now send that Reaper in the right direction, and it will show up at a very conventional time. Looks like the top of the high ground has been walled off right here by Hero. Now, obviously, the map is not necessarily terrible, right? But it's considered to be quite bad by many pro gamers. Mostly just because of the asymmetrical design, right? So it is technically symmetrical, but there are superior spawn locations, especially depending on the matchup. Now, I don't think this one will matter all too much in the ways that they have currently spawned right over here, but when you have the rotational symmetry rather than like the horizontal or the vertical symmetry, or sometimes diagonal, right? You just have a very different setup, and oftentimes players just don't really like that all too much. I enjoy watching games on this map, though. Besides that, there's this really weird setup in general. The third base feels very cramped, so you can actually defend all of these locations pretty easily, and then like the base next up is really far away. So it's just a little bit different. And many StarCraft 2 players out there, since we are all a little bit older nowadays, difference scares us. When maps just don't work out the way, like all of the under 1,000 maps that we've had, a lot of pro gamers, a lot of casual gamers get a little bit afraid. All right, anyways, it's gonna be a Blink Boy start right here for Hero. We'll be making those Stalkers here in just a moment. For now, we got a little bit of a force field. Interestingly enough, that Reaper could make that jump from seemingly very far away. Hellion just drives straight in. Cure sees what he's going up against, fakes the move out again, starts roasting some of the workers here. I'd be surprised if he gets one. Yeah, he does not. Getting one there would actually be quite a luxury. It would require a misplay here from Hero, but either way, it's a bio follow-up right now here for the Terran. So we have a 2-on-1 opener, starting off, of course, with the 1-1-1, and then 2 additional barracks get added into the mix. Stimpack, combat shields will be the norm here in just a moment. Hero's gonna see everything. This is one of those big strengths. Opening with a quick sentry. It's actually lost a little bit of popularity again. For a little while, we were seeing sentry first builds from Protoss in like, I want to say maybe half of the games. Right now, we sometimes see games where Protoss doesn't even bother getting a sentry going early at all, but I think it's very nice. Getting that energy recharge down on the sentry just to fly around with those hallucinated phoenixes can be incredibly valuable. Now, Cure is looking for an angle to potentially fly in with the Medevac But so far, Hero has got all of his bases locked off very nicely. Losing the medevac would be a bit of a problem. That's recoverable, but when you're only hitting the opponent at one different... Like, at one point, right? If you're only... I don't like this. Yeah. If you're only doing a Widowmine drop and nothing at the same time on the other side, you're effectively just giving up a lot of control. Because relying on your opponent making a big blunder like that, just not ideal. Okay. So, great defense right here by Hero. A little bit overly ambitious here by Cure across the board. He does have that timing attack coming up, though, so we have the Stimpak, we have the combat shields, +1 infantry weapons. Also has been queued up. But this is a really good start here for Hero across the board. Now, obviously, it's super easy to still throw this sort of advantage away. It's certainly not a game-winning spot here for Hero whatsoever, but it's exactly the start that you hope for. In my mind, like, the scariest part for Protoss has now already been passed. I guess the next, well, line of attack here for Terran is going to be when those upgrades finish up. But you have so much time to prepare against it, so you can go into Colossi, you could maybe even go into Storm. Looks like we're not doing any of that. This is just going to be Blink Stalkers straight into charge, and alright, a proxy nexus in the top left. Now that is curious. This is one of the starting locations. This is one of the main bases on Last Fantasy. Templar Archives will be coming up on the back of this. No surprise there. We, of course, see that Storm, well, more frequently right now than ever before. But will Cure ever check for a location like that, right? So, a lot of these attacks with the Stimpak Combat Shields +1 timing attack, a lot of those attacks are effectively designed to try and shut down a fourth base from the opponent. So you would expect the fourth base to be over here. Bit of an awkward spot. You would maybe expect it to be up north. Now, Stalkers are kind of far apart. Okay, they do decide to, well, stim the entire army. Oh god, Hero, where are we going? We didn't have high ground vision, so he couldn't really easily blink away. He might get cut off, decides to blink and just recall. Fair enough, does lose 2 Stalkers here in the process. He did not yet start up the Templar Archives research, though, so there's not going to be Storm available. He really will just have to clean this up with pure Stalker Zealot and maybe an Archon or 2, but I'm not really loving this army here for Hero very much. Hero's very busy building up this, like, trick shot right over there at the top of the map. But Cure is coming in with just the... What is this? An hallucinated Colossus? He's like, oh no, I am bad at the game! Look at me, I suck! Please stim your army and, well, take the bait! Oh, he took the bait for a little bit. Did you see that? Now he realizes, though, that it is indeed fake. Widowmines get some pretty good detonations. I like that Hero here is playing to the Hero image, though, because he is the type of Protoss player at the highest level that I can see misrally a Colossus like that. In the meantime, though, there's also a drop happening inside of the main base, and even though the tricks here from Hero are cool, Cure is hitting him with a blunt object, and he's struggling just holding on. This is really not that odd of a follow-up here, of course, from Cure. Cure does get cleaned up in the main base, but he kills 2 forges in the natural in exchange. And I'm liking this position here for Cure quite a bit. Now, there could be a misread coming up. I don't see Cure winning the game with this particular attack, but if he assumes that the opponent is on 3 bases, he may be in for a nasty surprise. Well, some more reinforcements show up. He actually wants to continue the dance. This is why Storm is so powerful, right? If you can just Storm it, these very slow, like Terran pushes that just last a long time, you can shut that down with relative ease. Even with, like, feedback, honestly. Feedback on the medevacs really does slow down the advancement of the Terran army quite a bit. Widowmine starting to deal with a little bit of friendly fire, and eventually I can imagine Hero will warp in enough reinforcements to get rid of all of this, but Cure is just, well, trying to see if he can maximize the damage. We have an armory coming up on the back of this together with an engineering bay. No 3rd command center anywhere yet, though. Cure not building up an SCV pool with this either, so he's effectively going for a 2-base all-in, and this transition here is going to be awkward. Because, yeah, the Engi Bay is nice, the armory here is cool, but if we're getting another round of upgrades, life does get really, really tricky. Now, he saw a recall, I'm assuming, yeah, that's about half of the probes from the main base that have made their way all the way up north. Losing the main here is not even a disaster for Hero, although obviously he would have rather avoided it. Okay, maybe he can get a medevac or two. Ultimately, right, Hero is going 4 Nexi against a 2 base all-in. And that's the big problem. He really didn't need to have a 4th base already. Being 1 base up is generally considered to be fine. He was hoping that this attack was going to be stopped by now, but Cure is not planning on slowing down. He does start up a 3rd command center in the meantime, and likewise we also have the Storm research started. +2/+2 as well for the bio units on the back of this. So both players slowly start to transition away from this, but Cure really has not let his foot off the gas at all. He is just doubling down. More and more reinforcements show up, now including a bunch of Liberators too. This push here from Cure is never ending. And honestly, I can't blame him at this point. This is looking like it's gonna kill another Nexus. Hero does have Storm on the horizon. Does he have any High Templar? Okay, there's 2 of them somewhere. Looks like they're over at the 3rd. Cure still does not know, though, about that expansion all the way in the top left, and that could be a problem. But at this point, it's, well, not a great economy here anymore for Hero in the first place. Man, he's gonna try and collapse on top of it. Storms need to be perfect. That's a decent storm. Not amazing. Probes pulled as well, by the way, just to tank a little bit of damage. Try and shield away against this bio army, but Cure is dodging now. Good micro here. The stutter stepping will continue. The stutter stepping will continue until morale improves. 23 additional probes. Man, Cure's been doing this timing attack here for like, what, 5-6 minutes now? It's very funny because now it's linking up with the next timing attack. Normally at some point, Terran is forced to go home, and then they go again with 2-2 finishing. But now 2-2 is on the horizon. It's not even a fast 2-2 upgrade. We're 12 minutes in. It's not even particularly quick, but he is feeling like he can just, yeah, continuously fire here with these units. Okay. We're still on 5 barracks. Cure could make a transition here toward more economy if he wants to, but I've got a feeling he's going to be planting down a Ghost Academy and then probably, well, 3 additional Rexes. Would not be surprised at all. He does respect this army, though, quite a bit. Nice micro there by Hero. Mitigates all of the damage, and this is the real strength right now of Hero. This base that is hidden. The problem is, Cure may have been on the... He may have been making the assumption here that this was 4-base Protoss economy all along. Because obviously he's seen the size of the army and it didn't really look too big. He probably assumes that the base is up here. He's looking around right now, though, to make sure that there is no hidden expansion, and this Marine has been queued all the way to the top left. It sees a random Zealot, and now indeed, with Stimpack once more being used, he scouts exactly what he is playing against. Okay, so he's gonna have to shift gears a little bit. Ghosts are coming up right now, +3 by the way, also researching. Considering how hesitant he was earlier, I can't really deny that this is a great idea now, but he was very hesitant starting up even the +2 upgrades. Okay, he's giving up on the, well, I was gonna call it a 4th base, but that's the old main that has been repositioned. Triple medevac drop in the meantime did split off from the main party to go up north. Hero is still in a world of trouble. He's gonna have storms available, recall will be used as well. So this is buying a lot of time, but I feel like right now we could actually make a push again towards the main base. Honestly, even just shutting down the gateways would be big. What about the High Templar over here, though? Okay, those get some pretty decent value off, but there's not a whole lot of sustain for them. They decide to just morph into Archons. Additional bio units do now show up, and this may honestly be the engagement that Cure was hoping for the entire way through. That was the last of the storms in this particular army, and I think indeed, yes, Hero has been cornered. Cure would be able to capitalize on this by going all the way to the top left, and therefore he gets a point on the board. Next up, we find ourselves on Persephone. You know what? As this game starts up, I'm gonna have a quick look at the last fantasy stats on Liquipedia. So that's the map we were just on. Yeah, so I do remember correctly, for the Terran versus Protoss matchup, apparently there have been 59 tournament games of TVP logged on that map, and Protoss has a win rate of 50.8%. So even though it's a very unpopular map across the board, there's no denying, oh, would you look at that, that for TVP it actually seems to be okay, at the very least if you only consider a win-loss ratios at the highest level. Cure decides to build a barracks on the other side of the map. Okay. Probe Scout is going across right now here for Hero. He wants to see exactly what is happening. And the problem here is that he's going to see nothing. Well, it's a problem, but it's also information. Sometimes Terran players like to go ahead and build their barracks somewhere in a location where maybe the opponent's probe scout wouldn't see it, like right over here, or maybe down over here on the low ground if they're feeling really quite, well, cheeky, but then again, it doesn't really matter all too much. You can go for a Zealot if you want to here as Hero. You can also just sort of rely on your, well, Chrono Boost to get an Adept or even a Stalker out a little bit quicker. Hero is completely not respecting a potential proxy whatsoever. So what he did see is the double gas inside of the main base of the Terran player. And that is a big indication, of course, that it's not going to be like a silly Marine all-in or something along those lines. Because for something like that, you just don't need any, well, gases. Factory starts up as well on top of the high ground. I think this is just going to be a Reaper or two. Nothing all too crazy. This will be the scariest part of the game for now for Hero. Because obviously the Stalker is not yet out. And we have to do the dance. Now, top-level Protoss players usually make this build look pretty terrible. Like the build here that Terran has gone for. Okay, one probe is more than we sometimes see. Yeah, 2 probes right now in total. That's, I think, the scouting worker that also fell. Yeah. So, was this worth it? I think this was about best case scenario at this level of StarCraft. Losing the Reaper obviously should have been avoided. But it just kind of always feels like it's really not that great. You do get to sit in the driver's seat of the game, and obviously if Protoss is a bit, I don't know, like they're not paying attention, you may very well pay the price, but across the board, it always feels a little bit rough. Then again, this barracks usually also gets put on idle for a while anyway. The main advantage of having the barracks at home is that you can use it for add-on production. So right now, for example, this factory here is, well, just awkwardly producing a single Widow Mine by its own. Shameful. Yeah. So eventually, we do see that barracks flying back home, and it will be able to put down a reactor. But I really don't think that this is worthwhile against the very best Protosses in the world. If you are, however, a ladder hero, I feel like as a Terran player, this seems like a no-brainer. Like this, engineering bay blocks in the opponent's natural, I feel like those type of builds are phenomenal on the ladder, just not that great at the highest level because the top-level Protosses are very good at the game. I know, that's why they're top-level Protosses. Surprise. All right, Robo facility here. No Twilight Council. Now, this is a little bit odd. Generally speaking, it's a Twilight Council, I want to say like 8 out of 10 games, and maybe a Stargate, like, I don't know, 1 out of 10 games, and all of the other Protoss builds can be put into the 10% option. This is a little bit funky. Now, he's going to be able to get the Robo facility here, mostly just to Chrono Boost out a bunch of observers. I was wondering if maybe we're going to see a Prism nice and quickly. Either way, that lone factory did produce a whole lot of stuff. And maybe this Widow Mine drop, unlike the one that we saw in the previous game, is going to be able to get something done. Good reaction here by Hero. If you can get all of the Widow Mines out and the Medevac, I don't mind this. No. We'll probably boost it up north here, or maybe we'll try and just leave it over here for a little bit longer to just occupy the Protoss' attention, right? If, say, for example, this is going to be a Blink Stalker follow-up, Hero would love to be able to use all of the Stalkers on the other side of the map. But when, of course, there's a Medevac drop always, well, looming over you in the bottom left-hand corner, you can't really send every single Stalker across. Not the case right here, though, for Hero, who's just going straight into a Templar Archives. So, it's a quick Robo facility. He scouted out that everything seems to be safe to get that Storm upgrade done in time. Now, we have a Raven available right now for Cure. Cure trying to hunt down the Observer. At this point, of course, you will realize that this is not quite a Blink Stalker opener anymore. First upgrade coming out of the Robo facility will be Charge. I think the main thing, though, to look at is going to be Storm, and whether or not it will be done by the time that Terran goes across the map. Protoss players have been loving this upgrade as of late. Because of the energy recharge ability, they can, well, constantly use it on these Templar. And can we get a little bit of a show? Can we see the cooldown being used here? That would be nice. If you can Storm pretty much the entire way through, it is very straightforward to defend those Terran timing attacks. Raven right now also looking to maybe join his friend over here in the bottom left. I mean, it's a nice little place to idle, right? I mean, it's a little waterfall. It looks like a beach resort. No blink available. Keep that in mind. What about feedback? Yeah, I like feedback there. Widow Mine is in the mineral line, a little bit clumsy. 3 probes, though, in total. Not bad. Looks like the observer, by the way, did finally die. There is still a backup observer on the left, but they were still playing that little mini game of chasing each other. Here's the problem, though, for Cure. Storm is done. Terran timing attack is now coming in, but feedback is going to be phenomenal against the Raven. Storm is going to be great against the, well, bio units. Honestly, feedback is also good here against the Medivacs. Everything here dies to High Templar. Okay, we settle on a feedback. Still, though, maybe this drop can deal some damage. A little bit slow on the worker pool. Okay. A lot of feedback usage. Interestingly enough, we've rushed out Storm, but I don't think he used it. Not yet, anyways. So, real quick, I know that the feedback ability is always a bit of a confusing ability in StarCraft 2. So, feedback deals half a point of damage based on the amount of energy removed. Once upon a time, it used to be 1 point of damage per energy removed. That was a little bit too much, because basically High Templar could one-shot effectively every spellcaster in the game. Depending on how much energy they had, it's a little bit much, but it's still extremely useful. The damage output is just mostly a bonus. Protoss is usually, as we have a little bit of a storm drop attempt, Protoss players usually will... Hello, hero! Hero, don't go full hero on us. Okay. Whew. He's like, well, the unit's name is Immortal. What could possibly go wrong? Usually Protoss players just use the feedback ability to remove energy out of the units they're targeting. There's a crazy drop right over here from Hero. What are we doing? This was so bad. What in the world was that, Hero? What did we just do? I don't even know what to say. That's crazy. He just dropped with 2 Immortals, hurt a couple of Marauders, and that was it, and then lost the 2 Immortals and the Prism? It's so hard to be a Hero fan. Like, he did this entire early game so well, and then he's like, ooh, Immortal go dead. And what was that? Seriously. This game was looking too good for Hero. He decided, you know what? In order to get better at the game, I need to make sure that this game is going to be more difficult for me. So what about I just give up some of my expensive units and hope for the best? Well, now the next attack right here from Cure is going to be extremely dangerous. One of the big problems here is that, sure, like losing the Immortals suck, right? Losing the Prism sucks too, but if you want to remake them, you don't just spend the resources, you also have to occupy time in the robotics facility. So the Robo facility is, yeah, gonna have to stop producing Colossi if you want to go back to making Prisms right now. Matter of fact, drop into the main base. Obviously a difficult spot. Ooh, we do have High Templar. Some great movement here once more, though, by Protoss. Push on the right side. Maybe this can achieve a little bit more. I don't think so. Nope. He decides to turn around after scanning and seeing that already there's some Protoss units waiting on the high ground. It's a risky time sometimes, right? If you're a fan of Hero, you're effectively playing with fire. Sometimes Hero legit looks like the very best players in the world, and then other days, he just kind of looks like, you know, your average Diamond League bro. And no disrespect to the Diamond League bros out there, but Hero certainly has a lot of fluctuations. Not just from day to day, but even within the same game. Like, I really don't know what he thought he could achieve over here with the Prism drop. Like, in his mind, that was a glorious play, but then the reality turned out to be a little bit different. Okay, 2-2 coming up right now for Cure. He hasn't really been able to punish his opponent too much. Yeah, Cure just kind of chilling here, right? So he's going right now into a 4th command center, not really over pushing the issue. In that previous game, of course, he didn't really make a whole lot of units, or a whole lot of command centers in general. So he's hoping to maybe catch up now in that department. Ooh, and the armor missile is quite nice. That's coming out of the Raven. We have a High Templar flank moving in. Where are we going, lads? What are we doing? Really, are we flanking this army? Oh, this is a big High Templar flank. Look at this. This bio army is going to be kited backwards. Surprise, mother lover. Can't swear on YouTube, can you? I don't know. That was a cool play, though, from Hero. It'd be nice if we had 2 more Immortals in the mix. Okay, fine. I'll let it go. Oh, the rocks, the rocks, the rocks! Careful! Okay. Sometimes units actually get crushed underneath. That's another Immortal not living up to its name. Now, it is important to note that in StarCraft 2, spells in general do not stack. And Storm is one of them. If you spam 2 Storms on top of one another, you achieve nothing. So even though Hero did get quite a bit of value there, if I'm being very critical, I think you could have gotten a little bit more by spreading it out a bit. Either way, this Protoss army is still looking dangerous. I recently played a game called The Scouring, which is a new RTS. And there is a unit as well. I think it's called The Apprentice. It's basically a wizard-looking guy. And it has an ability remarkably similar to Psionic Storm. But I found out very quickly that in that game, the Storm does stack. It's insane. You basically have if you have a group of those apprentices, you basically have a delete all of this button. And it's really nice when you're playing it. It's really fun. Highly recommend it. Not so much fun when somebody does it against you. But yeah, stacking spells in general is pretty much always a bad idea in RTS games. I'm sure there's good examples of where it's not a terrible idea. By the way, Hero, whilst being in kind of a weird spot, did decide to now make the transition towards Skytoss. So he's actually got Tempest production here kicked in, and he's also going for a Mama ship. I'm still liking this position for Hero better than I like the position here for Cure. EMPs here are good, though, from Cure. It's just that he's kind of pushed away in a corner, right? I mean, if you compare this to the aggression that we saw in the previous match, we just have a very different approach here this time around. And yeah, Cure is kind of turning himself into a punching bag now. And soon, Hero's punches are going to hit way harder with the Mothership, the Tempests, and all of the other units coming out. Love this as well, by the way. 3 o'clock base here is now done. We'll probably see a round of workers making their way on over towards those golden minerals in just a moment. Okay. It's triple Stargate, by the way. We don't see this all too often anymore. Ooh, looks like there was a stasis ward over here. Sorry, let me just back up here. What just happened here? Did he bait the opponent, or did Cure just walk into it? So this is about 20 seconds ago of where we were. Ah, okay. I thought maybe Hero did some 300 IQ baiting. Really? I would have sworn that would have been 2 stasis wards, but somehow, some way, these lads all caught in the same angle. And this is actually so rough right now for Cure. Because as we know, there's a fight just about to happen. And at the start of it, at the very least, the Ghost won't be available. Absolute disaster. The Tempests are available, though. Whoa, that is a juicy Storm. A little overly ambitious here from Hero, but he now shows up with the Mothership. Mothership immediately activates its cloaking ability. Obviously, there will be scans available for now for Cure, but he probably won't be able to scan indefinitely. Those Ghosts were nice, but Hero also paid a pretty hefty price tag for it. Cure hoping for a more conventional unit composition right now. He did make a second starport, so he is able to pump out those Vikings 4 at a time. It is the answer against a lot of these units, be it Colossi, be it the Tempest, be it the Mama ship. Mama, where are you going? Mama's out to go and get milk. She'll recall your mass in a moment. Don't worry about it. I think that's the plan anyways. We're probably doing another flank. After the High Templar flank, I think we're now doing a mothership flank as well. Zealots just running across. Ooh, bunch of Protoss units here. Do engage with the Terran. You're found at a bit of a weird angle. Yeah, look. Mama's on the hunt. He's like, oh no, I'm fighting on the left. I'm definitely fighting on the left. I am so committed to fighting on the left. Cue the shark, or the Jaws music, rather. Here we go. We're recalling everything, and I love that time warp as well. Grabs a bunch of the Terran units on the retreat, and then also snipes the planetary itself. Cute play right there again from Hero. Who now, by the way, has secured that 3 o'clock base nicely. He was a little bit slow with the worker transfer there, but he does it a whole lot. Storms over here are going to be a necessity, though. Kira gets some really, really good EMPs down. And you know what? He might be able to actually win this fight, although the Zealot flank right now comes in clutch. He made so many Vikings that that's basically all he's got left over now. My god, how many Vikings did he make? He had 19 over here, and 15 of them have died. Yeah, I think he got a little bit carried away, queuing up a few too many Vikings. They are still useful, but not against this type of Protoss ball. I feel like Hero's biggest enemy in this game was Hero himself, but ultimately he gets the job done. What a mess. And that means it all comes down to this. Maganatha, or Maganatha, final game in this best of 3 series. It's so hard for me to predict who wins this. Look, I feel like across the board, Hero is the better player. But Hero is also the least consistent player who's consistently at a very high level that I find it difficult to predict. Especially with how good Cure's Terran versus Protoss has been over the years. Now, across the board, it does seem to be a better matchup right now for Protoss. Especially like the mid game when Storm is done. Terrans really seem to be struggling quite a bit. And it should be better for Hero, I think, right now. But well, Cure is once more ready to try and throw a little bit of a curveball. At the very least, he's thinking about maybe building an engineering bay. I think the Engi Bay block is a good idea. Let's see. Well, Hero is, in my mind, like the only player, though, at the highest level that has this many highs and then also that many lows. Like if you look at a game from Classic, you know he's always going to be performing at like at least 95%, you know? Like Classic on a bad day is probably like 95% from optimal. Serral on a bad day is probably like 98% from optimal. Clem on a bad day in a similar realm as well. But Hero on a bad day is like 60% from optimal sometimes. And obviously part of the problem, right, is that Protoss just functions a little bit differently. You just rely on so many expensive units that if you lose any of them, you just kind of look a bit foolish. Like we see Zerg players accidentally lose a bunch of Roaches, or Terran players accidentally lose a medevac full of units quite frequently too. But it doesn't feel like at the same level of bad, you know? Like it doesn't feel like it's immediately game ending. And I guess truth be told, in the previous game, it wasn't really that big of an issue for Hero, but Hero has those moments. It's very fun to watch, but he has those moments where things are a little bit wonky. Now, what are we doing here? Are both of these guys trying to proxy, or are both of them trying to see if the opponent is proxying? Or was one of them planning on proxying, but now that he's been spotted, he's not doubling down on it anymore? Okay. I guess we will never know, as both players have decided to give up. Many possibilities, but ultimately we end up with a very ordinary game. I think maybe Cure was planning on proxying the starport, It's actually not a bad map for it. There's a lot of open space over here where you could drop a bunch of those units, especially Hellion drops. Adepto does shade past the command center. Shade is going to be available yet again. And I think it will probably be able to escape. Nope, it's not going to be able to achieve that job. The third Marine, I didn't see it. But it is good enough. Man, I haven't seen CEST in forever. CEST definitely finished up his mandatory military service. Didn't he? When did actually CEST go off to the military? His last tournament match was played in August of 2022. Yeah. So generally speaking, military service in Korea is about 1.5 years to like maybe 2 years tops. So he's certainly done by now. Ooh, trying to use the Adept here to set off the Widowmine fire. Not bad. Hellion sneaks around the side. Tries his very best to see what's happening. Man, I would love to have like a program at some point of like somebody hunting down the pro gamers from the years that are, you know, in the past and ask them what they're doing these days and how life is treating them, because players like CEST have been extremely successful over the years, but we haven't seen much from him. Okay. 2 SCVs go down here. Adepts do shade away. Medevac drop in the meantime on the other side of the map. Cure has not really been able to do much with medevac drops, I feel like, in this entire series. Like, obviously in game number 1, he did get a good drop-off while he was pushing with his main army, but that felt like more like a committed attack rather than like a cheeky push. Maybe this one? Alright, 4 probes is probably best case scenario. If he loses the medevac though, I don't like it. Okay, he will be able to sneak it away. 6 workers right there for a Widowmine and 6 Marines. Maybe 4 Marines or so, because I think some of them may have died on the other side of the map. Not the end of the world. Also not really a flying start, though. We have the Raven going across once more. Engineering bay is going to be coming up again. The 2 additional barracks are once more also going to finish up in just a moment. And of course, that means we're going to be seeing Stimpack and combat shields as well as +1 infantry attacks. And it'll be up to Hero to try and slow that down. We are arriving in that little bit of the lull of Terran versus Protoss, where some of the early game units are still around and we're dancing with, for example, the Hellion. Fair enough. Actually getting a good bit of damage done. 3 workers for 1 Hellion's not bad. 5 workers! No, there's a Raven too in the main base. How many damage? Oh, no. It was all the Raven, or it was all the Hellion. The Raven just mostly, yeah, depleted some energy out of the shield battery, but that's it. 12 probes! Now, it is easy to look at this type of game as a Terran player and be like, yo, I am in such a good spot, look at me. But then, when you actually look at the resources lost, you paid quite a significant price for all of it. It's very easy to now overestimate your current performance. Okay, here we go again with a Warp Prism. Templar Archives coming up. Will Storm be done in time? It's gonna be real close. Chrono Boost, of course, extremely good though. And he does already have the Blink done at this point, and Charge is not too far behind. Okay. Yeah, it's a bit awkward. Normally you have Charge done at this point. I think Hero thought Charge was already done. He's like, oh, well, that's awkward. Looks like it wasn't. Well, now it's done, but a little bit too late. This Prism is making the flight of shame all the way back home. A little bit embarrassing. All right, Storm is about 1/3 of the way done, though, and that's going to be the most important upgrade right now to finish up. Cure does have a 3rd command center, so this is a different opener than what we saw in the first game of the series. This is by no means him going for like a 2-base push again, but he will be testing the waters with a rather scary army. Now, Hero's task with these Stalkers is to try and slow this down. Try and slow it down so the Storm upgrade can finish up in time. Yeah, we have Templar again, this time around in the Prism. But much like those Zealots from earlier, we don't yet have the upgrade, so careful dropping them down. It will be it will be available now, though. And Kieran knows it, right? Like, he knows that he's been slowed down quite a bit. Yep. He decides to go back home. High Templar, though, are thinking about cutting him off. Careful, though, with the Prism. Woo! Man, if he would have stimped, I think he could have had it. I thought Hero was trying to get a storm off on the retreating army, but I think he accidentally just, well, got a bit lucky there that the opponent didn't spot the Prism sooner. Losing a Prism here with 2 High Templar inside of it could have been an absolute disaster. What looked like a brilliant play was actually just a mistake. Robo Bay right now on the back of this. It's like my own ladder games. Robo Bay right now on the back of this, though. Matter of fact, drop does get intercepted. And you know what? What about this push? He got a bit greedy there. Probably should have, yeah, tried to hit both of the squads there. Or rather, like, go after one of the squads rather than both. All right. Good defense right there, though, from Cure. I read a YouTube comment a few days ago of a Terran player absolutely losing their mind that storm drops are way too strong because you can use them to take down a mineral line in an instant. I found that very ironic after I've seen Terran players do Widowmine drops for the last decade. That apparently now they draw the line at storm drops. It was a very funny comment. They were very angry. Anyways, High Templar ready to go in. Not the best storm again, but this Terran army is not looking that strong here. Okay, there were a lot more units waiting on the high ground. Oh, man, what a messy fight. These storms, though, are a lot better and at least making it difficult for the Terran army to chase it down. Man, it was a hero fight and a half right there. What a mess. Ultimately, though, it looks like we can continue to dance for a little bit longer. Hero has been stacking storms as if they do deal additional damage. Not ideal, but it looks like maybe there's enough. Oh, there was a ghost inside of that bunker. A little bit odd. The Terran army is looking dangerously low. There is, yeah, only 2 medevacs available right now, and those are the ones that just spawned, so I can't blame Hero for wanting to push. He did also get 16 workers killed in total now because of it. And at the very least, that is a, yeah, like a cherry on top of the fight, right? I mean, it wasn't an amazing fight, but it was still good enough because of the SCV kills. For the time being, Cure's economy will be okay because he's now able to drop a lot of that energy out of the orbitals onto mules. But soon his eco is going to dip, especially compared to Hero, who's securing a 4th. He's already got workers for it, by the way, so we're already at 79 probes. 5th, sorry. We're already at 79 probes. He's going to be able to get the economy going very, very rapidly. An Archon and a probe on the watchtower. I don't know which of the two is holding the watchtower, but I guess it... Oh, okay. Apparently the probe won the war. Nicely done. The Zealots this time around decided to Prism. Cure does see the Prism trying to sneak around the side. Prism will indeed unload some of those Zealots. And I think that is the end for the Prism. Yep. What about the fight over here at the watchtower, though? A lot of Widow Mines available, but not quite in the right choke point. A lot of Storms also available. And with the Protoss units just sort of scrambling their way in this direction. Wow. Cure got absolutely destroyed there on the watchtower. That's crazy. I thought that that fight was looking quite a bit better for him initially, right? But then all of the Protoss units, I think through the magic of the all-army hotkey, also sort of just arrived with the perfect surround at that same location. I don't think Hero really could have anticipated that, but with the Widow Mines off in the wrong bush and the Protoss army coming in from so many sides, Cure realized that he was never going to be able to, well, first win the army fight, right? And then also, secondly, actually hold on to his economy. So it's Hero who obtains the victory 2-1 in a series that, well, seemingly ended very abruptly.